Hey, welcome to Let's Complain. I'm Thracius, and this is Killstrain. Now, what is Killstrain? Killstrain is a recently released, quote-unquote released, it is in an odd exclusive access period at the moment, MOBA-style action game. It is pure PvP, and it is 3 factions vying for control of a single map. Now, the endgame scenario comes from any faction destroying any other faction's main base. In the progress of trying to do so, there are some sub-objectives to earn points to gather a resource to unlock your quote-unquote epic/ultimate faction abilities. Now, for the humans, there is, on the bottom portion of the map, a miner. This miner must be captured and controlled, and it produces what's known as ARC containers. Now, the ARC containers serve 2 purposes. One being that they are exceptionally powerful against the strain, and we will cover the strain in just a moment when we get to the mutants. They can be used as thermal nuclear detonators that just do massive amounts of damage to strain pods. Their second purpose is that you turn them in to the drop point, which is located at the central part of the map. Now, this is a contested point between the 2 human factions. The mutants cannot contest this point. However, the humans are almost constantly fighting a King of the Hill style battle over this point, as it can seriously change the flow of any game based on which human faction can control that point for the majority of that match. Now, this creates an interesting dynamic of game flow. It's almost universally true that first thing that happens, human grabs their mining point. Second thing that happens, humans bomb the hell out of the strain with the containers to clear the path to the drop pod. Third thing that happens, the humans are waging war over the drop pod. And that is roughly the first 5 minutes of the game in a nutshell. It doesn't often stray away from that. Sometimes it does, but not frequently. Now, as the mutants, you do not have access to this sub-objective. You have access to 2 things to gain you points. 1, killing humans. 2, laying down the strain. The mutants have the unique ability to place strain pods, which spreads the strain. The strain is this web-like, dark, ground-covering terrain, which gives huge bonuses to the mutants. The downside is that strain pods are fragile, and the humans can kill them in fairly rapid succession. But while in the strain, the mutants gain increased movement speed, they become stealth, and they gain massive hit point regeneration. Humans, on the other hand, that step into the strain, take damage over time, and it's not a small amount, it is significant. Any human wandering into the strain or being pushed or pulled into the strain suffers a massive amount of damage in short order. Another unique ability to the mutants is the ability to turn humans into mutants. Now, this doesn't happen frequently because it takes a lot of resource for the mutants to even unlock the ability to change a human into a mutant. And in order to do so, they must pull that human into the strain. Now, there are a few sections of the map that are permanently covered in strain that can never be removed. But for the majority of the map, the strain can be removed by destroying the strain pods. So it makes it an interesting tug-of-war battle to try to keep strain on the map so that you are able to convert humans into mutants. But, and here's my greatest gripe with the game currently, humans have access to the unique ability to summon mechs. The mechs are these ultra-powerful mechanical monstrosities that, A, have access to a insane amount of firepower and can just wreak havoc B, are so durable that when you see one on the field, you just have this heavy sigh of disapproval and disappointment that that's what you're coming up against next, because it'll take you an hour to kill it. I'm exaggerating, but it does take forever. And the third thing is that they are completely immune, 100% immune, to any damage from the strain. Now that is my biggest point of contention, all other capabilities of the mech aside. Oh, and there's one more thing I forgot to mention. The mech has access to a shoulder charge capability that knocks out any opponent for almost 3 seconds, I believe. It is a solid chunk of time that you are just laying on your ass completely vulnerable. And so with all of those abilities completely aside, ignoring those entirely, the mech's immunity to strain damage is insanely overpowered. Because imagine this scenario, and this is a real scenario because I have seen it happen at least 20 times in over 100 and something matches. 2 groups of humans, say you haven't converted one yet, 2 groups of humans, that is 8 humans, get their mechs simultaneously. 8 mechs that are 100% immune to damage from the strain. 8 mechs can march your base, taking 0 damage, and pummel the living shit out of the mutant home base, taking no damage from anything unless the mutants try to intervene. The same cannot be said of the mechs trying to rush the human base. The humans' turrets will target the mech and do a significant chunk of damage. Now, by significant, I mean a mech can still destroy a turret in short order. However, it was taking damage the entire time. A mech does not take any damage while massacring its way through the strain pods, unless there's a mutant sitting there working on it. And that needs to be rebalanced, in my opinion. I think the immunity to strain just needs to be removed altogether. The strain, you can still hit the strain pods without standing in the damage aura. So there is no need to make the mech immune to the strain, because it can stand outside of its range and still destroy the pods. So I believe they need to remove that immunity 100%. Just take it out of the game. Now, playing as each faction, like I said, your objectives change, and your gameplay, your style of gameplay has to change with it. Because as the humans, you're strongly focused early game on taking your miner and delivering the arcs, and your majority of your opponent is going to be the other humans, because you're fighting that King of the Hill style battle for that drop pod. However, as the mutants, you have to take advantage of that tug of war. You have to be an opportunistic hunter and kill the humans whenever an opportunity presents itself. And that is a lot of fun. I think the dynamic of the game changing as it progresses is so much fun. It is incredible to jump into the fray as a mutant, as a 4v4 battle has been taking place and everybody's halfway dead or, on their last little bit of life. You come barging in with you and your mutant buddy, and you just wreak havoc and just try to clean house on both sides of the field and earn as many points as possible so that you gain access to your ability to turn a human into a mutant. And when you do, when you capture a human and turn them into a mutant, it is a huge benefit to your team. You've literally, on the first change of a human, you have increased your damage output and your team size by 50%. Instantly. Not only that, but you have removed 25% of the enemy team, one of them at least. That is a massive swing of power. I believe that is how they attempt to balance the mech versus mutant situation. The problem is, it takes much, much more time and effort for a mutant to turn a human than it does for a human to summon an army of mechs. So that balance of power needs to be revisited. Now, with all of that being said, we get into the real problem, and that is the player base. Far too often, there is the problem of when a mutant captures a human, and turns them into a mutant, that player just drops the game entirely. He just quits. That is so obnoxious, and it removes so much fun of the game. Turning into a mutant and changing sides, it's a lot of fun. You switch teams and you play like some weird variation of dodgeball in elementary school. It is incredibly enjoyable, to me at least. But so many players, as soon as they get caught and change teams, they just quit. And that's against the spirit of the game. If you're going to do that, do not play this game. If you're going to get so tunnel visioned on one team's success that you can't play the game for the game's sake, then do not play the game at all, and I encourage you to go play something else. That is why I believe currently there is no team queue. You cannot queue into a game with your friends, and I understand the logic and reasoning behind this decision. For example, if me and 3 of my friends queue into a game, there has to be 2 things have to happen. Either 1, they have to put us all in the same team, which forces us to play humans, or 2, they split us up like normal. We randomly get assigned teams. Now, it is up to us to play by the spirit of the game to not ruin it for every other player involved. And what I mean by that is, if 2 of us are on the mutant team and 2 of us get stuck on the gold human team, we can choose to never attack each other. And that ruins the game. Having the gold humans only focus on the blue humans will most likely cause the other gold humans, the 2 remaining members of the team, to realize that the mutants aren't attacking them either. So leave the mutants alone and focus on the blue team, which shifts the entire game from a 3-faction to a 2-faction 6-on-4 situation. Not only that, but since the mutants are more powerful combatants and have the capability to turn the blue team into mutants, it becomes a completely wasted match because you now are entered into a situation where you're almost guaranteed to win, and it's no fun for anybody. So I understand their reasoning behind the lack of a team queue. I do hope they change it, and that they hope that the players just play the game as the game's meant to be played. But I understand if they never do that, because that's putting a lot of faith in people who can be very petty and only care about the end game situation. One huge kudo I have to give to them avoiding that situation, is that there is no true win-loss/victory-defeat screen. When the game ends, there is just a scoreboard, and you just have your score up against the other player's scores. And that's how you when you played in the game. And that's great. And it has to be done that way because of the way they've set up the factions and the ability to switch teams. But I think it is so subtle, and the nuance of not staring at a you lose screen is incredibly inviting to new players. Not being told that you're losing constantly or you were defeated. It is still slightly disheartening to see yourself at the bottom of a scoreboard, and I admit to that fact. However, you don't feel like you never contributed because the score differences are typically not incredibly enormous. They can be. Some players can be dedicated and very objective focus, which earns you a ton of points. But even players who don't have a lot of combat prowess, who aren't very good at killing other enemies, can still contribute to the team, and they can still cause a lot of havoc in the game by just following their objectives. This is much more difficult for the mutants, as the only thing they can do if they're not very good combatants is to lay strain. And so that makes it a little more difficult, while as the humans can hold the drop point and continue to deliver arc canisters. But that lack of a true win-lose screen is phenomenal, and that's incredibly welcoming, and I applaud it wholeheartedly. I do hope they include a team queue, but like I said, I'm doubtful. Progression of the game is actually very well done, in my opinion. There are going to be a lot of players who complain about the progression style of the game, because people who play more, who put more time into the game, can become slightly more powerful. And I say slightly, knowing that I may get some flack. Slightly more powerful than those who do not play as much. Now, what I mean by that is there are augments and masteries that you can train using the in-game currency that increase the capabilities of a certain character. The augments are interesting as they all have a trigger. Like, none of them are passive, meaning none of them are active all of the time. None that I have seen so far. There may include some, but none that I have seen so far are active 100% of the time. They have to be triggered by something, such as healing an ally, saving an ally from being turned from a mutant, getting a double kill, securing an objective, etc., etc., etc. Now, in doing that, you get the ability to unlock some of these crazy, weird, and incredibly fun augments, such as getting a double kill gives you 20% increased damage for 9 seconds, or saving a human from being turned heals you for 50% of your total health instantly. Something along those lines. There's a lot, and they're varied immensely, and it's a lot of fun. This video is starting to drag on a little long, so I'm going to rush through the end here. The game is incredibly fun, and I encourage you to try it if you have any interest at all in these style of games. The other mastery style progression system is increasing the individual abilities of a specific hero. So if you have a favorite hero, you can dump your money all into that person to make them stronger. And it's a lot of fun to customize your hero and to make them your own. However, the people who are brand new to the game using the same hero versus that hero who a player's been playing for, 100 plus hours and has all of their currency dumped into, they may feel like, oh, that's unfair, but I don't believe that to be the case. Somebody who has put 100 hours into a game and that much progression, I know the argument against this, and it's the people who don't have that much time, and I completely agree. It is possible to purchase with microtransactions the augments and things of that nature, but it is not currently possible to purchase just the flat currency, the in-game coins, I believe, which is what is required to buy the hero ability upgrades. It does not take a very long amount of time to upgrade your hero, but it is a difference, and I do understand the argument against them for people who do not have 100 hours to dedicate to a game, but still would like to play it and enjoy. The differences are not that incredibly overwhelming, so I do not believe they're game-breaking by any means, and it does not pull away from the enjoyment of the game, at least in my opinion. Hopefully they iron out some of the issues that they do have currently, and I really, really want them to release a team queue, because my friends and I and my cousins who I game with, we do play by the spirit of the game. If we're on opposing teams, we love to kill each other. It's a blast. And I hope players treat it more of like they come into it with the spirit of Super Smash Brothers Brawl or Melee or something, where they want to kill their friends and it's fun. I hope they do come in with that kind of attitude, and that they market the game in that way. If you have any suggestions, comments, complaints, that's what we do, so feel free to complain in the comments. If you have any suggestions of games that you think I should play or review or whatever, go ahead and post them, and I will try to get my hands on them and do them. I'm currently doing PS4 and PC, so go nuts. I'm going to have some more videos coming up here shortly. Thank you for watching. If you stuck around this long, I'm sorry the video ran up to 20 minutes. I was trying to keep it around 12, but there was a lot to cover in this game. Thank you for sticking around. My name is Thracious. This is Let's Complain. I hope to complain with you someday, so leave me a comment, like or subscribe, or do whatever you want to do, but just thank you for being here. I had a blast, and I hope to talk to you and see you again.